In this demo, we'll see how TP Synergy is used for managing the quotation process. So in this demo, the buyer creates a request for quotation and sends it to the suppliers. So the suppliers logs into the system and then they view the request for quotation and they respond to that. They respond to that and create a quotation. So buyer is able to compare the quotation and analyze it. So we log in as a buyer rdgglobalrfq demo user. So you'll see there is a menu called request for quotation. So the buyer is creating a request for quotation. So this workbench is used for verifying the quotations or viewing the quotations that was created earlier. When the buyer creates a quotation, it will go into new status. Supplier can see this request for quotation and respond it. Once supplier responds it, it is going to go to supplier responded status. And once buyer approved it, it goes to approved, not accepted. All these stages, the quotation goes through. Let's see how to create a new request for quotation. So the buyer goes to this create for new and then selects the item number, item description, and quantity. Let us say the buyer wants to buy 10,000 of this or 100,000. The target price is $2. So this is not seen by the supplier, but this is just for information. This is for internal information. The target price is not seen by the supplier. Let's say this is required by December 31st. And so the buyer can add notes. Right, so they can give a notes like this. And then they can add additional fields like request for quotation, the requisition date, RFQ type and all that. These are not mandatory. And then they select the vendors. So all the vendors in the database, you can have multiple vendors in the database like this, Guangdong Lipen Garment and Xiamen Lishin, and select, you can decide to which vendors you want to publish this request for quotation. So in this case, I just want to send this request for quotation to these suppliers. So I'm just sending it this request for quotation. So as soon as I send it, suppliers will get an email notification that there is a request for quotation pending for them. So they log into the system to view the quotation and respond. So I'm just logging out and I will log in as a supplier. So the supplier would have got an email alert saying that there is a request for quotation waiting for them. And so they can respond to that online. So they log in. Each supplier will have a login. And whatever one supplier quotes, the other supplier cannot see that. So I go to that request for quotation. So as a supplier, I see that there are 3 requests for quotations waiting for me. So I go into the details of the request for quotation. There is a quote button for me. So I can say this is the quotation number. This is our the supplier's internal reference number. They can give the internal reference number like this. And then they can quote a price for this. So this is the 100,000 is needed. So quoted quantity is also 100,000 and quoted price is, let's say, 3. So the supplier is quoting $3 for this. And then they can type some notes. Right, so they can provide certain additional information like this, and then they can quote for this. So the system will create a code for this. Let me complete this code. Right, so this quotation has been created. Now the buyer will be able to view the quotation what the supplier has provided and they can accept the quotation. So I log in again as buyer. So if I go back to the same thing, request for quotation, now I see that the supplier has responded to that quotation. So 4 quotations, supplier has responded to that. And then they can analyze it. And after some time also, they can search by the item. They can compare all the quotations at one place. It gets recorded in one place. And another advantage in this system is that you can attach the documents. For example, while sending this RFQ, if you want to attach images and document, you can simply attach anything. So for example, you can just attach Excel file or image, anything you can attach to that. Right, so you can attach a document to the quotation, and what has been attached, this will be downloadable by the supplier. So this has got a specifications which is attached to that. Supplier will be able to view that and download that. And once the quotation has been approved, it can be converted into purchase order. Once it is becoming a purchase order, it's possible for the supplier to ship it and all that. The full process goes on. So this is just an overview of how request for quotation and quotations works in TP Synergy application.